Hey, Sandra, y'all. Welcome to Tuesday night, Scotch on the Bayou. And we are having a fun show. So much fun the show will be is the reason I'm a little late because we were having fun on the pre-show, getting ready for that. I hope everyone's doing well, enjoying a nice spring, drinking well. You're going to have to tell me what you're having tonight and which American single malt you're going to pour with me and my guests tonight. Think it's going to be a lot of fun. Want to do a shout out in case he still is awake for Frank Peathead. Probably are asleep way over in Europe, sweetheart. Thank you very much for always being here and supporting the channel. And Joe is in. Hello, my friend. Great to see you and Everwind. Ahoy, malt mates. Awesome. And Mr. West Coast himself, time for a dram Gregor. Super slander, y'all. I would love to hear that in your Scottish accent. I do love that. Check out Dram Face podcast, guys. He is that voice. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, you'll get a really chuckle when he's hosting his whiskey tastings at Timothy O'Leary's. It's pretty funny, very cinematic. Thanks, Gregor, for being in. Trooper is in. Hello, my friend. Are you on solid land or in the middle of the Gulf? I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. And Marky, my Marky is holding down the fort. Here's one of our super guys, Chuck Maltminion, member channel, and patron. And I see Jim Kimreddick's in. Woo! Tim's in. Hey, Fonda, y'all. Good to see you. And speaking of podcasters, Kim's in. Hello. All three of my favorite people coming together. You know it. Check out Whiskey Enthusiast on your podcast. Awesome. Somebody needs to put a link in the chat for sure. But yeah, it's great to see everyone. And see even Graham's in. Hey, top of the 2 a.m. in the morning for you, my friend, over in Scotland. I can't wait to see your pictures tomorrow of what tasting you were at today. I live vicariously through all things. And we have another dummy in the wings here. Hey, Andrew, more than welcome to join if you want to, sweetheart. Good seeing you. And Rick, we were just talking about you. I wonder if your ears were burning. Sanja from sunny San Francisco, y'all. Awesome. And a channel member for a year now. Yay. Thank you. So yeah, tonight we are talking about American Single Malts. And I wanted to bring some of my favorite people in the whole wide world to talk about that because they've really been getting into American Single Malts, so much so that they've chosen a few to put their name on, which is a really big deal. And we'll talk more about that. But these guys I feel like I've known them forever. I feel like I was one of the first people that ever went to the basement. And if you know, you know. That's not as creepy as it sounds. But I want everyone to please welcome my dear friends, 2 of the 4, because they're all my buddies, 2 of the 4, and that would be Drew and Mark from Scotch for Dummies. Hey, guys.
It does sound creepy.
It sounds so creepy when you say it like that. The
basement. My basement, little girl.
Come down and get some candy.
Oh my gosh. Let's get her drunk.
Oh my gosh. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Hi,
thank you. I will say what was particularly odd about that was my husband's like, yeah, go meet 4 guys in a basement in Indianapolis. It's okay.
Well, I'm glad it creeped you out a little bit because just knowing that you were watching us on your big screen TV creeped me out a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, man. This feels weird.
Y'all big time up there on a big TV and high definition.
When we had 50 reviews or something at one time, you're like, there's a big screen TV with us on it. I'm like, what? We're doing what?
Who's watching us on
Who's
TV?
watching?
Yeah, y'all were mine and Mark's Thursday night date. We would watch the review, have dinner, watch the review, and then watch the live show. And that was like our hey, Thursday nights are our bonding time. Just like over whiskey and 4 dudes that we've never met, you know.
It's been a while though.
Yeah,
We've
it's
definitely
been a long
grown
time.
close. We've come a long way together. You've come a long way together. This
Yeah.
family's come a long.
Yeah.
There's so many things that have happened. There's so many memories we have together. But
it
thanks for
really
having
is.
us.
Because this wouldn't have happened if y'all hadn't happened. No way. There's no way.
Well, I don't know. You were destined, hon.
I laughingly say that I'm the Laverne and Shirley spinoff of Happy Days. Because Happy Days was first, and then Laverne and Shirley came after. So, and for everybody under 45, they're like, "What?"
We're on the Laverne and Shirley show.
We are, yeah. That's right.
Whatever.
Oh my god.
So I'm going to start with something, and I'll do the cork thing.
Oh,
Nice
that's
cork.
so nice.
It's a Diageo cork, man. They're all about that cork chance.
Looks like balcones.
Yeah. So this is what I'm starting out to start the palate.
So knowing that you want to start with the
Catalina.
balcones, I poured a Maltzilla balcones as well. So we're both starting with a Texas American Single Malt, right?
Yep, and
Yeah.
I poured balconies as well, but Lost Lanterns version. So
Okay.
independent bottler. We can talk about them later, but
Yeah. So I mean, we've got a couple of American Single Malts out here on the bar to go through and stuff, but. A lot to talk about in the wide world of American Single Malts, man. There's been a lot going on.
Yeah. Do y'all remember the first one you ever had?
I think so. I think it was the Bear.
Was it called Bear Claw? No.
I was thinking Bear Claw, but I think it's Bear something.
I don't remember. I wasn't overly impressed with it. I think
It was good.
it was okay. But I think Balcones is probably the first one, you know, because our good friend Zach in Texas, right? You know how
Yeah.
he pushes Balcones.
Yes.
And so he sent us 1 or 2 different ones, and that kind of was the start of it all for us, I suppose. But we've ran across some bangers since. And you know, we're diehard Scotch fans. I mean, obviously Scotch for Dummies, but I think American Single Malt's got something to it.
It definitely kind of blew us away to say, what is going on? What is this stuff? What are they making here? And it put us on a journey to kind of explore some stuff. And we are very much in the beginning of that journey.
Sure.
Hopefully for a long time.
Hopefully so. You know,
Not that we're going to give up the Scotch. That's not going to happen.
no, not at all. But it is interesting because we all have such appreciation for Scotch, not only in the way it tastes, but the whole process.
Right.
And then when you take that process and then it's like, now it's in our backyard. Well, what are we doing that's kind of different than that? And can it, you know, in the true American sense, be its own thing? You know,
Sure.
I think it's interesting. I think my first, I think, was a particular Stranahan's that just really did not make a great first impression. It was just very hot. It was young, and really pretty hot and pretty acetone at the time. The ones I've had now, since they've had some runtime, especially, light years different, you know. Then I can remember that first one going, this is not what, you know, what I know Scotch to be. And you're kind of making that judgment of, are they trying to be Scotch? And really they aren't. They're trying to be what they want to be, you know, as the category here now. So.
Well, I definitely hope that there's not a competition feeling amongst, you know, the Scotch Whisky Association or Scotch drinkers, or even bourbon drinkers for that. I think there's room. I think there's a space for American Single Malt in the game, right? And obviously, everybody competes against everybody else when it comes to market share and stuff like that. But you know probably better than we do. You've been over to Scotland many times. That even in the Scotch world, they seem competitive. Of course, they're all trying to make money and have, you know, conduct business. But behind the scenes, it is a pretty tight community. You can be master distiller at one distillery and call a master distillery down the road and ask questions or get advice or get help, or, you know, they're there for each other. And that's the way the American Single Malt category is accepted in the United States and starts to fold into, you know, the U.S. markets as a larger whole.
Yeah, it is very tight knit, and there's so much, I would even say, cross pollination
Sure.
of people that will work across the board, and especially blenders, you know, in one particular blender of your second bottling, we'll talk about her particularly, and just those connections that she's had and where she's come from. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Very approachable people, I find.
Well, that bottle, when we get to talking about them, you know, we went out and visited the distillery to pick another bottle, a cask for them, and they've got some really interesting stuff at their distillery. I mean, it was designed by a Scotsman. They brought somebody over from Scotland to design that distillery, and they brought stills over from Scotland. I mean, they're doing what they can to make good American single malt, and you can tell. But,
Yeah.
There's some differences and some nuances we'll talk about. What's the differences between them? And now that American Single Malt is, what's the word?
Ratified?
I don't know.
I don't know. Bona fide, ratified, blessed, and released.
But now that it's legal, if you will, there is a category. We can really do some comparison and what's the differences between the two. And I honestly tell my Scotch drinking friends that, you know, if you like Scotch, there's definitely some American Single Malts out there that you need to try, because you're going to love them. They're the next best. They're as close to Scotch as you in an American form, really. I mean,
yeah. And not a corn kernel in sight.
Amen, sister. Hello.
Yeah. I'm like, I ain't crying over that, you know. Because everybody knows my stance. I'm just really happy for all those who do love it. You can have my share.
Hey, Lee, we're going to back off this for a second and change our mind because it's not working.
Okay.
Right, we'll be right back.
That sounds good.
What are you doing?
You'll see.
Okay. All right. So yeah, thanks for the heads up on a couple of folks were talking about the mic. So I didn't hear that when we were in a pre-show. So thanks for that. Again, the podcasters for sure. No, thanks, Gregor. I appreciate it. I really do. And what, we have a super chat. What? Cheers to an awesome group. Where is it in the queue? Let me find it. Kim, you're awesome. Thank you. There it is. Thanks. Cheers to everyone in the awesome group. Spectacular humans. Big hugs, my friend. Love you a bunch. Thank you. A big Sandra, y'all, for that, for sure. That's awesome. I see Katie's in. Hey, Katie. Happy belated birthday, friend. Glad you're there. Glad you're here with us tonight. Let us know what you're drinking. So, everyone's got the Virginia Distillery Company Cuvée Cask. Yum. Joe has got something we're going to be drinking here a little bit. After some volunteer work, you deserve a nice dram, and that is a particularly nice one for sure, Joe. Good job. So, Cram, that's a great question about Balcones and whether or not they've changed much since Diageo buyout. And I would say the biggest change I've noticed, we'll see if Zach is on, because Zach will definitely have more of an opinion, and it's in practically his backyard, Texas speaking. But it definitely is concentrating more on single malts than a larger portfolio of what they were doing before the buyout. I will say the main players that do their thing are still there doing their thing. So that continuity has continued. I mean, that is the Jared and Emma and Gabe and that whole crew are still doing their thing and being part of what is happening with them. So that is really nice to see. And that's been the case since they bought them out, 3 years ago or so. So that's good to see. because everybody was worried they were going to mess it up. Yeah. Everyone was talking about the first Copper Fox, not maybe Bear, that in Peachwood. Yeah. That wouldn't make the definition for sure now. But good to see everyone. Who else is in that I saw pop in? Bobby J. Hello, my bud. Just got off the plane. You're waiting for your bags and you're watching us. Well, God love you for that. I appreciate it. I really do. Okay. Well, let's bring these guys back up.
Oh, it should be better now, hopefully.
Oh, you sound so
Yeah.
fine now.
Why didn't you tell us we sounded bad before? We had to get a comment.
I didn't notice it. I was
StreamYards wouldn't accept our mics. It was using the camera.
It was
mic.
using the camera. I got some text during the show, and I was like,
gee.
"What is going on? What?" So sorry about that. We got it
sorry.
fixed though.
Mm.
All said, all good. So balconies is where we left off.
Yes.
Yeah. And Graham was asking
Good.
if after Diageo they've changed a whole lot. And I mean, all the main players are still there doing their thing. And I'm sure they've gotten corporatized. I know talking to them is very corporate now. You have to kind of go through
Sure.
a few layers of corporate
Oh yeah.
than you had to before.
I don't think the whiskey's changed yet. And I say yet because it's inevitable, but I would ask that question to Zach because Zach lives and breathes balconies. I mean, that's in his blood.
Has anyone seen any marketing changes or anything like with bottles or anything like that? I haven't. I don't live down there. I don't see bottles and balconies very much. So definitely not here in Indiana.
Well, I mean, this particular bottle is a different shape than
Oh yeah, it is.
that one's a definite. But the styling, branding, that kind of thing, it's pretty on point of what it was. I just, I think they're very much concentrating on American Single Malts rather than the other things that they were doing.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Well,
So
balconies, and obviously there's a couple of distilleries down in Texas that that do American Single Malts. Obviously, we bottled one. But one thing that the Texas, when we're talking about Texas whiskeys in the American Single Malt conversation, is we know we're familiar with our regions in Scotland, right? And we all know if I pour you and say this is a wonderful Highland, you've already got a preconception in your head of what to expect. You know what a Speyside is going to bring. You obviously know what an Islay is going to bring. And I think you're going to see that in the United States as well, because I mean these Texas malt, these are different beasts, man. They're hot. They come out fast.
This is hot like a bourbon to an extent.
But then you've got your up Pacific Northwest, your Westland, your Westward up there that have a totally different climate. And so they're going to have their own flavor, and they're really trying to distinguish themselves within the single malt, market as building their own terroir, if you will. And I think, the Texas ones they're pretty damn proud of being, it says Texas single malt, right?
It's a Texas thing too.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting that I think you're going to see that. And I'm excited to see what kind of terroir comes out of the U.S. regions, if you will. Because, you get your Del Bach in New Mexico. That's even different. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
If you go back to when you first came to the basement, right? We were starting our journey into Scotch and trying to understand what some Scotch is. We're still dummies. So don't kid yourselves, right? We're still trying to learn. But when you think about, to your point, Mark, about I think why we're so geeked about American Single Malt, obviously it's our backyard, but because of the fact that it's obviously barley, but the regions, like there are some interesting climate situations that are happening in America, and that is affecting how this whiskey turns out for sure.
Absolutely.
And in Texas, right? I mean, you could throw some whiskey in a barrel in Texas in 2 years. It's like 8 years
molasses.
or so. It goes so fast.
Right.
It's the heat, right?
And, like for Virginia Distillery and that East Coast kind of thing, I think that's more like Scotland.
Yeah.
Well, the Appalachians are basically they've tracked that to being part of Scotland way back, so that geology is actually, there.
Right.
But like when y'all went to Virginia Distillery and those rolling hills, that is Speyside. When
Yeah.
I was driving around Speyside, I'm like, this looks like North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. That's that area. And yeah, those are, our states are much more southern, but it's East Coast and it's higher elevation than me in the swamp. That's for damn sure.
Right.
Or Texas.
Or the Texas
know.
heat, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So-
and the weather conditions there change quickly, and
Yeah.
they're all over the place too. So they even
Yeah.
match Outland even more, I feel.
Yeah,
up there.
for sure.
You know, we've got, I don't know, a handful of different single malts here. I don't know how many you've got pulled to talk about, but another
I want
thing
to get into y'all's.
is one of the things that I want to say, you know, with American Single Malt literally being, you know, let's say it was just birthed in the last year because it just got legal, you know, identification, if you will. There's obviously distilleries out there that have been doing it for 15, 20 years. You know, you've got your Westlands, you got your Virginia distilling companies, Balcones been doing it a minute, Stranahan's. But there's also a plethora of other distilleries out there that are making American Single Malt. Some of them are still trying to figure their way out, and they're getting really creative before they can prove that they can make good whiskey, you know. But there are some that are small and off the radar that are just, I don't want to say getting lucky, but they're hitting home runs right out the gate. You know, I mean, what is this, that quintessential? Yeah, Cedar Ridge, that quintessential from Cedar Ridge. Man, this is an Iowa distillery, little bitty Iowa distillery. This is a bomb of a whiskey.
It's a winery.
Yeah,
That's what it's known for.
It's incredible.
Right.
And it's amazing that because there are other distilleries out there that are low key, that are just getting real crafty and I don't want to say striking out, but
no, but I mean, we're
Yeah.
on the precipice of what American Single Malt. We're in the beginning of greatness, I feel like, and there are some known out there. To your point, but there's so many unknowns, and now that it's been standardized, hopefully we're going to see a little bit more of regulations, what's going on with some of these barrels, et cetera, and then some good juice coming out. I think the problem is it's timing, it's fighting through the marketing, and then just the well, just to be honest, getting through the bourbon craze as well. Like
Right.
it's hard to get through. Right.
It's a
We're
lot
trying.
of education.
Yeah.
It's a lot of education and people even knowing, because I've even talked to some of my liquor store friends that are like, well, are you going to make a shelf?
Yeah.
right.
Are you going to put it all together? Because if you don't know, I can come help you do that.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves when you go to like Total Wine and you know it's something then
Yeah.
because you have a whole American, single malt section, and they don't. Right now we go there and it's just scattered with American whiskey.
It literally says American whiskey,
Right.
but they had a whole bourbon section.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this is a good segue to Graham asking this question about, are all American single malts regulated by the same rules, or can the distilleries opt out?
So,
And
good
yes
question.
and yes, but they can't. If they opt out, they can't call it that.
right.
So they finally ratified, like a group. Graham, just the long and the short of it is that basically the group that are making this came together trying to make their rules, and a group, and say, these are the things we'd like this to be called, and these to kind of have those regulations. And of course, all of that had to go through the TTB here in the States, and a lot of cussing and discussing, and a lot of just taking way the hell too long to do. But there is a set of rules now, and there are some similarities with Scotch, and we can hit on some of those. It's got to be in an oak barrel. It's got to be 100% malt, malted barley rather, entirely at one distillery. So there's your single.
So distilled, mashed, and aged
Yeah.
at that distillery.
Right. In the in the US. As far as what's going in the cask, can't be more than the 62.5, which is what a pretty much standard is for Scotch. And has to be at least 80 proof or a 40 ABV to go in the bottle.
Maximum barrel size 700 liters.
Yep. And you can't it can't be distilled more than 160 proof or 80. So,
But so technically there's no age requirement for American Single Malt, but if you want to call it American Straight Single Malt and use the moniker straight, it has to be 2 years old. So after 2 years, you can actually call it straight American Single Malt Whiskey or whatever. But I don't like that.
Well,
is that an homage to like bourbon straight?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, because
Okay.
if you look through the question and answering of the whole ratification process, the Scotch Whisky Association actually pushed back on that, and they requested that the TTB not allow the word straight because it will just confuse the market. And the response from the TTB was, although they understand the request, they are going to stick true to American whiskeys and allow the word straight to be used. So I get it, both sides of it. But there was one other thing. The Scotch Whisky Association had submitted a comment about the age and actually had requested that they put a minimum age on all American Single Malt as to not confuse the market. But if you read the question or the comment from the Scotch Whisky Association, they were careful in their wording. They approached it from the angle of, if you don't put an age statement on American Single Malt, American Single Malt will always be a leg down because it will be non-aged compared to Scotch whiskey. You know what I mean? So they were trying to trick them into putting an age
How
statement
many
on.
bottles do I have back here that don't have an age statement
I
on
know.
them?
A lot.
It was just funny. Well, no, but no. They don't have an
Right.
age statement, but they're at least
You know,
3
at
years
least
old.
there are 3, right?
Yes.
Well,
You do
that's-
know a minimum.
Right.
That's the interesting thing too, because you want to play the game a little bit more like, no, man, we should put a couple of years on these as a minimum, but it's not fair, because back to my point about the regions and where we're at in America, like it's not fair to people that live in Texas that are distilling versus people that live in Virginia, because there's a time difference. It's not fair to play the same playing field.
Right. You put a 3-year minimum on American Single Malt in Texas, and some of those are going to be overbaked.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They're no good.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's
So,
for
but
sure.
it would be nice to have at least a couple of years in most of these. Hopefully they go for that, but we'll see.
You can use coloring.
You can.
In the US, you have to put if you've added coloring, and you have to put it on the label according to the American Single Malt Whisky Association, if I'm getting that right.
Yeah.
What about stone fruits?
Oh yeah, stone fruits is the other thing. Scotch can't go into a cask that held stone fruit liquor prior to it.
Yeah.
But American Single Malt doesn't have any restriction. You can I guess for all as long as it's an oak barrel, it could have motor
Right.
oil in it before.
So
you
no peach wood,
Jeez.
as Chris has already pointed out.
You know what?
No peach wood, as Chris pointed out.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Thank God.
Ooh.
So
So what's the next dram?
well, let's pour your pick while I go. And Joe has done a super chat. Thank you very much.
Joe,
I appreciate
that's awesome.
that.
Drink to that.
What pour did you partially pay for in Scotland with my last super chat? Which one will you buy with this one? Oh my gosh. So I will say it was the Punter's Dram at the Bon Accord, which I ended up getting a bottle of, and it was an 18-year-old Linkwood, and really
it
lovely.
Sounds awful. Sounds awful.
I know. Oh darn, make me have to drink really good whiskey. So thanks, Joe. I don't know what the next one's going to be, because it's probably, if I can get back over there in October, or actually November, but we'll see.
I have a
kind of-
suggestion for you.
Okay. Oh, Deanston.
Well, yeah. I mean, what else would I suggest?
Deanston.
Hello, Dean.
I have a question
For
for
$1
Joe.
million.
Joe super chats you and supports you to drink a lovely Linkwood. He super chats us on our channel for me to drink Whitewater.
Yeah, there's something
What's
going
up with
on
that,
there.
Joe?
Because I think I've got a bit of, I'm in his favor. I don't know what
Obviously.
you've been doing.
Right.
Drink that crap stuff, Mark. But Lee, go
That's
have some nice
awesome.
Linkwood.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We poured
guys.
the chocolate malt.
We're going to stay down in Texas since we started in Texas. And
Okay. So this is what's left in my first bottle.
Ooh,
Okay. And of course, I have your signed bottle is still encased in its
Oh, look at that
absolutely
guy.
all
Yeah.
its glory, because I was freaking there.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
And yeah, so this was an amazing thing, and I'm gonna try to do this. This will probably be kind of all boggled up, but I want everyone to see these guys just did some amazing things where they the face that you see
Uh-oh. I don't know what I'm prepared to see here.
is so happy. These guys were
Oh, yeah.
so freaking happy. I cannot even tell you.
Do you want to know the truth in this picture, Leanne? Right before this picture, when I realized that our cask was still in the Dunnage house, I was starting to second guess in the back of my head going, damn it, he didn't pull the cask 3 months ago when we selected it. This might not be any good. I mean, I thought he would have put it in a stainless steel. And there it was in the Dunnage house. And so I was happy to see it, but I was also
You
scared.
had no problem riding it when we wheeled it out.
I was scared.
No, that picture's in here too. I can find
Oh,
it.
of course.
Andrew's pulling the hand truck that Mark is sitting in, that's holding the cask, and Mark's riding it like he's slim whipping on.
We're in Texas.
Like you're in Blazing Saddles or whatever. No, which Mel Brooks is that? Where
That's Blazing
Blazing
Saddles.
Saddles.
yeah, that's what I thought at the end. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah.
You know,
That was a definition of a good time, was had by all.
to
So
throw
tell us about this bottle.
we need to throw Andalusia a little bit of love. You know, they just won
Small batch.
whiskey award from, what was it? Was it the World Whiskey
World
or San
Whiskey.
Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah, World Whiskey. And so Ty and company down there, it's a small distillery. It really is. It's on family property. It's a pretty small operation, but you know, they do a lot with a few
You do
people.
it well.
They
Just
do
really
really
well.
good whiskey, and they've got some unique. They're known for what they call their striker cask, really, and it's not peated whiskey. They make smoked whiskey,
Yeah.
Correct.
and so it's a Texas thing, and it makes sense. But Martin, our friend Martin Fielder, who's also a channel subscriber of Scotch on the Bayou, right? He put us in contact with him, and we reached out and started emailing with Ty back and forth, and Ty sent us samples, and we sent him our notes back, and he sent us some. We told him what we wanted, and this is not what we wanted. That's the funny thing about it. This is not what we were looking for.
Oh, no.
And he snuck this sample of this in a round of samples that he sent. And he said, I know this isn't, what you guys asked for, but you ought to give it a try. And the way we do the process, Leanne, is we usually try to blind them individually. So we won't be together. We'll sample them and kind of take our notes. And then we get together and do another round with the four of us. And when we got to this whiskey, there was this silence amongst the four of us. And we were all kind of just looking at each other like, well, damn. This is not what we were looking for, but we can't pass on this.
It was a hard one to not get because we were going through all of them. They were all pretty good. We hit this one. We're like, oof. As you probably tell, when you first smell it, it just hits you in the face with such a chocolate malt sensation.
Yeah.
And it's so delicious that we were like, we've got to get this. And, this being our first bottle, I had a lot of fun because I got to design a label for this one, and I went through so many iterations and going back and forth with this label. And ultimately, it's really, I wanted to put a lot of homage to kind of our beginnings with our branding, our colors. And then on the bottle itself is the 4 coins, original coins of ours. And then also you'll see Molly at the bottom. She was our dog, and she was part of Scotch for Dummies, and she passed away a few years ago. But this is a bottle that we will never forget.
It's great, and I'll have to say, want to welcome Molasses and Tom, Whiskey and Mine Trails and friends. I took 3 bottles of this to Scotland last month. 3 bottles.
Yep.
Graham has one of them, and Alistair Day, the master distiller and co-founder of the Isle of Rassay, has the other. as I've taken him Striker before, and he loved it.
That's awesome.
So he has
That's
the other
awesome.
one. He's actually going to be at the I'm trying to remember. He's going to be at Garrison Brothers in 2 weeks for whiskey judging, and the next. Remember when Dan Crowell did that big test on whiskey? That so it's that thing.
Oh wow, that's
whiskey
serious
certification.
Hardcore. Yeah.
So he's going to be there for that and doing a judging. And I'm like, you're literally going to drive by the place. You have to go to Andalusia. So I don't know, Graham, and then I saw that you were trying to lay off because you've been going some really cool places lately. But you were going to have to eventually tell me what you think about this one for sure.
Yeah.
And while we're at it, let's say thank you for watching from getting the baggage from the baggage carousel and the super chat, Bobby J. You are too much, my friend. Too much.
That's Bobby J for you. We love him.
I just love him. Loves American. He's such a great guy and such a great supporter of both of our channels. And
I want to say thank you to you for actually muling a few of these bottles over to Scotland so that some folks over there could try them. You know, I see Graham has said that he has yet to open his, and just knowing that a couple bottles made it over to Scotland, and hopefully people can enjoy it and love it like we do. You know, I don't expect American Single Malt to divide the Scotch, Scotland up. But I think that there's definitely some Scotch lovers over there that need to try some of this stuff just to see what it's all about.
And they don't have access to it.
Right.
And one of those bottles will end up with our friend James, who's over in Sweden. So,
he lights up the Discord too. That guy's good. He's always drinking good whiskey.
I think what's cool about the Andalusia bottle too here, obviously besides all the great chocolate notes and stuff, it's part of their it's Andalusia's DNA. Like when you smell this, and I've had a few other drams with it, so I'm like, that's Andalusia right there in the bottle. So it's really neat to kind of help say that to your to your friends, etc., and say, hey, not only is this American whiskey or single malt, but this is something that's unique to Andalusia and what they are doing.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I think he really allowed us to come down there and have a good time. We showed up in force, patrons in tow, and he let us roll that thing out of the Dunnage house, tap it. You pop the bung, we tap that thing, and Leanne sat and worked the bottling machine. She was just two at a time. Bam, bam.
I did. Everybody, when I said I may very well have bottled that, but I did not do the sticker because that was too much pressure.
Right. Thank God for Martin and Hazel. Right. They were
the sticker machine.
Yeah.
I love the fact that there's at least 4 or 5 people on the chat right now that went to that distillery with us.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually Kim says, if you guys listen to the Spirited Enthusiast, her and Martin both picked it as their favorite American Single Malt of 2024. So we feel proud, very lucky and blessed and privileged to be able to be a part of that whiskey for sure.
And Graham's asking about the barley. And we do have, as everyone answers later, we have a lot of it. And they'll use some imported and some some peated imported, but this particular is all Texas.
Right.
And not only is it all Texas, when we were there, we met the farmer.
We did.
Yeah, he was there. He had never tasted a whiskey. He bought a bottle on that day on the spot.
Maybe I gave it to him.
That was pretty impressive,
Yeah, I was giving all kinds of stuff away.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so neat to see him there and talk about. He was there from the beginning to the end, and he was just like, I can't believe this. This is amazing. Like this is what we started with, and this is what we ended up with.
I had something to do with that.
That's right, you did. We were super excited for that. So,
but to answer Graham's question, like I know that Quintessential is their barley is local, Iowa barley.
Yep.
And I can't speak for all of the distilleries. I know Westland, when I've spoken with them, they are all about everything being Pacific Northwest. They are really proud of their region and trying to embark and put their region in every bottle, in every way they can. So I would imagine the barley comes from somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, I don't know the growing climate of Pacific Northwest for barley, but
I think it's real big in Washington State, especially
Yeah.
the east portion of that. But like they're not importing any more casks from Scotland.
Right.
They're
They're using
local and
Yeah.
US to keep the footprint down and that type of thing for sure. So not only did I take 3 bottles over there for folks, but I took over a dozen samples of it.
Oh,
That's
wow.
that's why there's only that much left. So at the festival itself, at the Independent Spirits Festival, Jeff Whiskey, I was like, hey, got a little something for you, a little different. I gave it to, I'm pretty sure I gave it to Lady of the Glen guys.
Really?
Independent Baller, so I spread the wealth greatly over there. To borrow an evangelist for Andalusia and Scotch for Dummies.
That's awesome.
God
I
love
was so
you.
proud of it.
Yeah.
I just love this.
Yeah, and it is cool too being a part of it. Like you were a part of this bottle.
Mhm.
So
For
much.
sure.
You and a bunch of other patrons that went down with it. It's like it's something that
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the barrel, we've got all kinds of things from that place
Right.
that we'll never forget. And so that is the bottle that, really kicked us off. And then here comes the next bottle a few months later.
Yeah, so we've been talking to a couple different distilleries, and we knew we wanted to get a couple more bottles this year. And Virginia kind of reached back and responded, and I remember setting up a call. So we went from Andalusia, which is basically Thai, right? And Ty, it's just a couple emails back and forth, maybe a phone call. He's relaxed. He's running the show down there. Well, Virginia says, yeah, let's set up a call. And so I'm like, hey, no big deal. We picked a time, Monday, whatever, 11 o'clock. We get on a Zoom, and I get on. And at Virginia Distilling Company, it's a little bit different of an operation. The vice president's there, the master distiller, the master blender.
It was
the,
a corporate
the Dunnage
call.
house. There were 6 people in this conference room, and I was like, oh,
Wow.
damn, I'm a bit outnumbered. Am I addressed properly? And
For Zoom call.
yeah, and they were just wonderful to work with. They had everything covered from A to Z. There was never a doubt that this was going to happen in the time we wanted it to happen.
Wow.
And when I told them on that call what we wanted, what we were looking for, Amanda's face just lit up like a Christmas tree. She said, what are you guys looking for? And I said, we're looking for a clean American single malt. We don't want any finishing. We want to showcase what American single malt is at its core. And she sat back and she goes, oh my, I've got about 6 or 7 samples I want to pull right now. I know exactly which casks. And I was like, she was spot on excited, because most people that come in, organizations that come in and want to pick a cask, they're looking for the big wow factor, something different. I want the uniqueness. I want, this needs to be triple matured and finished and this, that, and the other. And we're like, no, we want ex-bourbon, clean. We want to see what American single malt tastes like, so that we can show our patrons and our subscribers what's at the core of this, what's at the foundation. And she freaking nailed it. She popped it out of the park.
She's amazing.
She is
just amazing. And I love, it's kind of one of those things. I talked 2 weeks ago when I was talking about the trip over to Deanston, and if we're still on, we were sitting there, and at the end of the tour, we're going in to where they're showing some of the casks, and and there's Julian Fernandez with an entourage of men, one to hold the bottle, one to open the cask, one to hand her the flange, one to hand her the sticker to put on the bottle. And they're popping casks of Tobermory, Lacheg, of Bunnahabhain, of Deanston, and she's pulling all of that. And I'm like, I want to do that when I grow up.
I know, right?
Amanda's like that too. She's just like, she's a student of whiskey. She's a student of the process, and she just genuinely gets so excited every day to see what's in store.
Well, it's actually it's exciting also, at least Virginia specifically, the Virginia Distilling Company. It highlights women in whiskey. You know, it's woman owned. They actually have a bottle out right now that all the proceeds go towards a specific endeavor to bring women to the forefront in the whiskey industry in the United States. And you know, you meet people like Amanda, and you're like, man, you're just impressed. I mean, obviously in the Scotch world, there's women that have, you know, are highly up there. You know, we think Glendronach, right? You're like, okay, right? How are you going to think of Rachel Berry?
Right.
But, so it's just really cool that Virginia it can do that here in the States. And we've, you know, remember when we visited Widow Jane?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the master distiller up there. I can't think
She's
of her
down-
name.
it's
She's
Not
moved
there
on.
anymore.
she's
Yeah.
down at oh my gosh, Search of the Sea, Crown.
Cradle, Castle and Key.
Yeah, I think she is.
No,
Yeah,
did she go to Castle and Key?
I thought so. No.
I don't think
But
so.
when we went to
I'm
Castle
trying
and
to
Key,
remember.
the master distiller was a
Mary Ann.
woman, and she went to
Yes.
a bourbon distillery.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting at Virginia Distilling Company because I mean,
She knows her stuff. Amanda is like, when we did our tour up there when we were bottling, you could sit there and listen to her for hours.
yeah.
Like she knows her stuff, and she's generally excited to tell you about it.
Well, and
Right.
she worked with Nancy Fraley.
Right.
Exactly.
And Nancy's like, when she was consulting with them, and you know, they were like, well, we need to, you know, go ahead and find a blender. And she's like, you got one. She's it, you know, talking about Amanda. That's who your distilling, that's who your person is, because she's got what she needs to do and the skills and the palate to do anything you need her to do. And that's coming high praise from Nancy Fraley, because, you know, you look at what she's done at, I mean, all over. She's working with a distillery in New Orleans. She's working, you know, she and Still Austin are like this,
Yep.
you know, coming up with all kinds of really good stuff. And bourbons that I like. So, you know, it's good. So let's look at this gorgeous bottle.
Yeah, I want to
of
get
y'all.
into it. Like I said earlier, one thing that caught me off guard when we did the tour down there was that, you know, the stills were shipped over from Scotland. They brought a Scotsman in to design the distillery and lay everything out, and it's extremely impressive to watch their process. They're using pot stills. They're doing it. As a matter of fact, their new make. She let us taste their new make right out, and
Delicious.
it was amazing. I mean, it was really good.
I've never had new make where I'm like, can I have some more? Like,
Right.
Usually you're like, okay, that's new make. I can see what you're doing there. Okay. But I was like, this is sweet. It's good. Like, what are you doing?
Mm.
It was amazing. Like, whatever you put this in is going to be amazing. And I remember we were there and we were picking out our next bottle with them. And the patrons will attest that everything we tasted was just top notch. Anything from STR to the port to the Oloroso, everything was really good. Like,
Yeah,
they
it
know
was
what they're
fun.
doing.
It was a good time. But so we worked with them, and this bottle changed it up for us a little bit. Obviously, we decided to just use their labeling and everything because it sped the process up. We didn't have to get something approved through TTB.
Oh yeah.
And so Drew was able to just put a sticker on the back, and it's got the little, you know, magnetic coin that comes off the bottle, like their Courage and Conviction lineup does. That little S for D thing pops off, but they actually turned this around. Yeah, it's a magnet.
It popped off. Look at that. I got 2 bottles I can just make earrings out of.
Oh wow, that would be badass. There you go. And if you lose them, Mark can find them with his metal detector.
That's it. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It's a great golf ball marker, by the way. You can sit there before you
Look
putt.
at that.
Mhm.
Problem is when you and your buddies all use the same golf ball marker. We have to get more. But what else about this bottle? So they turned it around pretty quick. I mean, she sent us samples, and in the first round of samples, we found this one. We wanted this.
Mm.
And they were just super, super easy and nice and wonderful to work with. And I think what excited me about, you know, this is our second bottle, and we've done sort of an event at each distillery, right? We did the Andalusia thing, and we've done something at Virginia. And I don't think we're going to do that for every bottling, but every time we bottle a new distillery, I would like to do something like that. Not just just because it's a new distillery, because it's at a different part of the country. Like
Mhm.
it was easy for some people to get to Texas, not so easy for others, but it was easy for some
Right.
people to get to Virginia. So we can at least give opportunities for our patrons to show up. But picking a cask with the patrons, I was nervous about that, right? I was excited about it, but you know, when you do something like that democratically and you have a lot of people, you
Yeah.
can just get stuck and not end up on anything. How do you pick
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
But it worked out. It was really exciting to do. Everybody was into it, and everybody was open and really talking about their perceptions and kind of ranking them 1 through, you know, giving it a score. And we picked what is it? Is a Ruby Port.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
excited about
Ruby
that.
Port.
I think what's really amazing about this whiskey, obviously it's completely different from the chocolate malt. But to your point earlier, Mark, about looking for something that's ex-bourbon barrel, and I remember sitting where you're at, and we were going through the samples, and every one of the samples they sent us, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what American Single Malt is. Like,
Mhm.
being Scotch lovers, if you were to pour this, Leanne, and poured another good Scotch, you would have a hard time distinguishing between the two. That's how
This
close
very
it is.
much so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
delicious.
Not to, but this would be perfect in a blind.
Right. Exactly.
What a
Oh, it would screw
curveball.
somebody up. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you would trip
You
somebody
sit
up.
there, sitting there giggling. And so James is asking about like some notes on this. And to me, you know how well, quintessential Scotch for me is a bourbon matured Scotch.
Mm.
It's just it's baseline, but not base. It's the center core heart of Scotch in that
Sure.
sense, not the bare minimum. I don't mean base that way. And that's where I see this as being a core example of what, just as you said, you know, Drew, that it's what we think American Single Malt can really be.
Mm-hmm.
So who somebody was asking for some notes,
James.
right? James.
Mhm.
I get a slight green grass note or green straw, but I also get a fruity note and a subtle sugar note underneath it. And not too sweet, not like it's cotton candy, but
Or
there
banana.
is a little bit of sweetness on the bottom of it.
No, it's an orchard house to me. Like
Yeah.
you've
that's
got
a good
Fresh
call.
fruit.
you've got all kinds of fresh fruit going on. Mostly kind of pears, a little bit of banana, a lot of grapes. But there is a nice maltiness to it. There is a sweetness to it. I would, my first thought was cotton candy, but not so confectionery. It's
Yeah.
sweet
That's-
enough.
I think cotton candy confection is
It gets
a
a little too
sweet.
too sweet, yes, but it's really good on the nose.
Mhm.
I haven't actually had the palate yet, but the nose
It
is
has like an underlying vanilla to it, but not syrupy. It's more like like the scent of vanilla.
yes.
Definitely an ex-bourbon cask as opposed to a new oak, right? You know,
Mm.
it doesn't have that new oak flavor to it. And see, I put a little water on the nose, and I lose that little bit of green straw note that I was getting on the top of it, and it just brings out more of the fruit and sugar underneath it.
And it's warm, y'all. It's 60.7. So I mean it's a hearty ABV. And the chocolate malt was 50, right? No, 53.
50-ish. Yeah, 53.
53-ish.
Oh man,
Still
that is
wiggle
just
room there.
That's money. That is money.
It's just
It's so good.
it's super clean. It's bright. There's
What would
no
you compare
heaviness
this
to it.
to? Like if I was to say pull a blind Scotch, that's an interesting comparison because we're actually going to try to start doing that because we want to start helping people understand. Like if you're watching our channel, you're a Scotch fan, most likely. But American Single Malt, something that's kind of new, right? But it's the same concept and for the most part, right? So what can we conclude that says if you like X, you'll like this?
right. So if you like this Scotch, if you're a big fan of this Scotch, this American Single Malt will be right up your alley.
Right.
What comes to mind?
Mm.
Put you on the spot here, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I'm sitting here wanting to turn around.
I know. Hang on. I know. I do the same thing.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I would kind of. It's an elevated Deanston 12. It's like up a
Sure.
notch.
Sure. Yeah. Almost like a Glenmorangie and Deanston 12 had a little get together or something. Like Glenmorangie
Yeah,
10.
and I would even
I think if you watered it down, it's a little on the hot side for that.
Well, yeah. But flavor profile.
flavor profile. I'm talking like spirit profile.
Sounds like there's some research homework that needs to be done, Drew.
Yeah.
There's a couple of nights of
So it's
getting
not waxy like a clean leash,
No.
right? And even like a Annock is a little honey waxy based on that, but you
It's
know,
something to come back to. Maybe in Balvenie even.
I would yeah, or I would even say like that old school Old Putney 12.
Oh, I wish it had a little bit more maltiness for that.
It's lacking a little maltiness for me in there.
Yeah,
But it's
and no
good.
salinity, but
I was just going to
this
say it's not as salty. It does.
no, but it to me,
briny.
I mean, I'm not so much flavor as caliber. You know,
Okay. I was going to say Glencadam.
Okay.
Hmm.
You can see that. I can see that a little
But-
bit. But the point of the matter is how many have we talked about? Like
You can do that.
it's
It's-
half
it-
dozen or so,
right.
right? And the point is it'd be fun to do because that's how good this
Oh,
stuff is
yeah.
coming out, right? If Virginia Distillery is producing this, sign me up for tons of others from Andalusia. And then we've got other distilleries we're talking to. Super stoked about American Single Malt Whiskey. Really stoked.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. So, I mean, honestly, we didn't get to this quintessential, but this Cedar Ridge, you got turned down to this by a work colleague, and I was like, Cedar Ridge, never heard of this. So it says American Single Malt, and he poured a glass for me, and I was like, well, hot damn, that's delicious. And so we reached out to them, and we've been talking with them. And then when we got together, where were we?
At Virginia Distillery, we were at
That's
the
right.
hotel, and Kim brought a bunch.
And
She brought a Cedar Ridge. It was the
a special bottle, though. It was like it's here somewhere.
it's here somewhere, but oh my god, it blew us away. It
Wow.
was something. It was a special release. I can't remember what was in it, but unbelievable that they can create something like that. And like you said, just the core quintessential was delicious. So
man,
amazing.
that's great.
on the
So
bottom.
Tim's people are wanting to know, is this one still available? And I mean, I know you offer
is.
yours to Patreons first.
Nope. And we've opened it up now to the public. So I mean, we talked on our Zooms with our patrons, and everybody's like, open it up. Let's get it out there and let
Yep.
people see what it is. So if
Okay.
if anybody wants to put the link to it in the chat, that's fine.
Or send it to me and I'll put it in the comments
Yeah,
for
that's-
after. That's for sure. And Ian, hey, from the other side of the world. Good afternoon, my friend. Is it from all states, including Alaska and Hawaii? It is all,
It is.
and I even think it goes to territories. I
Oh,
think
I don't know. That's a trick question. Boy, ask
Ooh.
ask
I wanna
ChatGPT
say-
that one.
I want to say like so Guam and Puerto Rico might also be in there.
So
for sure.
that with a question like that, Ian, I am excited to try the first one from Hawaii or my first one from Alaska to see just what they're doing in those climates.
Oh, we could collect states like you do when you go to national
right.
like parks and stuff.
Right?
I like
I
that
don't have
idea.
it from
But I
Arkansas.
mean, what kind of Scotch or what kind of American single malt are you going to get out of Hawaii? Right?
Pineapple.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean that climate. I don't know.
It's not actually very hot there.
No, it's actually
It's
pretty.
humid.
It doesn't change temperature wise, but
doesn't
maybe
fluctuate
10
a lot,
15
huh?
Right?
No.
No. So it'd be interesting to see what would come out of Hawaii. But
So Ian's a Scot in Australia, if you didn't know. And the dram sounds like a biscuit flavor, maybe like a hobnob or a malted biscuit for dipping in tea. Yeah, I could see that.
all right, man.
Maybe.
I mean,
Yeah.
Too bad you're not closer, Ian. You could sit down and have a dram with us.
Sounds good to me.
Goodness
Maybe we
gracious.
just need to make a trip down there to deliver him a bottle. I've been trying to get down to Australia.
That's a long trip, my friend.
It's a good
It
reason to
is.
go.
You know, it's interesting because I kind of threw the teaser out there. Is this like the future? I think the future is bright. The future is. I mean, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but there's one of our friends, distilleries out there in the West is having a bit of a difficulty.
I know, and
which
they're
is really
producing some good
disheartening.
stuff too. Yeah,
they've been making American Single Malt for over 20 years.
Right. But yeah, it's times are rough,
Times are hard right
and we
now.
all know like brown whiskey, brown liquor is having some issues all the way around. So I think it's like everything else. There's gonna be waves, right?
Sure.
But it would seem to reason that if you can keep the fundamentals going, that you'll ride that out, hopefully.
Well, that was one thing that caught me off guard about Virginia. How many years were they open? I think they were open for 10 years. They built their distillery and started it, and they didn't produce a bottle for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, most distilleries, no matter what you're distilling, the minute you get those stills running, you're cranking gin.
Gin is
Yeah.
like that. Yes.
You bring some cash in some way, right?
Got some cash flow. That's right.
They didn't even do that. They stuck to their core principles and worked on that, honing their game and their skills, and I think it shows. But like you said, I think in these hard times, you just stick to the basics and the fundamentals and keep your eye on the prize, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I'm hoping, James, that that Westford finds a way to get some funding, and
they'll come back.
They're too good not to. It just
They
like you
make
said,
great
the
whiskey.
times are just a little rough right now. They'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll bounce back. The future's super bright for American Single Malt. Is my point.
I think so. And I think, and I love the fact that we've got quite a few international folks here, and we'll get more on the comments after about how they're inquisitive about it, and want to know more about it. So right now it's pretty domestic as far as sales and marketing goes, because it's just getting started as a true, category. Let's get it some shelf space with its own pretty sign, that would be great.
ASM, baby. I just want to see it.
And be able to get that out there. But then you've got other markets that can pick it up, right? We talked about the Chinese market being really big on whiskey, and the Indian market being big on whiskey. And they do, especially India consumes a lot of their own. But I think if you can get that out there, it'll be surprising to see who wants to pick this up internationally.
Vast majority, I shouldn't say the vast majority. There's a large portion of Virginia Distilling Company that goes overseas. What market? What market were they getting into?
It's an Asian market. I don't
It was an Asian market. They send out.
But it's special. It's done. I'm not going to get into details, but it's done differently just for that market. But the fact of the matter is, they're finding a way. They're finding a way to not produce gin and not produce vodka, to keep going and finding a way.
Yeah.
And there is a demand, and I think Gregor posted something out there about the sales have not been going up, but the production is, and it's an interesting point, because what usually happens when you have kind of a downflow of sales, etc. Somebody bursts through, something happens, and there's going to be plenty of this product that comes on the shelf. And hopefully, I'm telling you right now, we are on something that's huge here. This is going to be really good for America. Super excited.
Awesome. Engineer Network. Hey, welcome.
I was reading the comment.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
This is great.
So let's flip over to Leanne's agenda real quick to see if there was anything we missed on American Single Malt real quick. There might have been a few points that I want to make sure that we touch on.
I think the biggest thing that we, just kind of like the compare and contrast and that kind of stuff. And then I wanted to hit, especially on like future sales and getting outside of our borders. And so Chris Everwin supplied that was Korea the Virginia distillery
Oh,
is.
thank you.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Which I didn't know. I was impressed when we were there and they mentioned that. I was like, hot damn, good for you guys, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds in the next few years with just shipping overseas, et cetera, with some of these bottles. I mean, it's a game, right? And it's something that I don't pretend to understand too much about, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yep.
We're going to be here in the front seat.
I'm going to pour some of this.
You said when y'all went to Virginia's distillery, y'all picked the next one. You said was a Ruby Port. That's the next bottle that's coming out for Scotch or Dummies.
So it could be. It could be. That bottle's coming. We actually have selected a cask from Westward.
Okay.
But we obviously need to talk to them now to see what things are, because we picked the whiskey, but we've got to talk to them about the details of it, because it's a little bit different of an agreement with them. So we've got to work some details out with them, especially now that there's a new wrinkle in there with them having to deal with their financial issues. We have been in conversation with Cedar Ridge.
Okay.
We will probably select a bottle from them this year. But we've got a couple different bottles, and the Virginia one that we did pick, I think we were going for kind of a Christmas. It's going to be a holiday bottle. So we're trying to have it kind of hit the market in late October, early November, to give people enough time to be able to buy a bottle for the holidays, whether it's a gift bottle for a friend or family, or a gift bottle for yourself if you're me. That's what I do.
From me. It's never disappointing.
Merry Christmas.
Santa said I deserve this, right?
But I'm worth it.
So we've got, I think we're reserving the Virginia one for that kind of market or that time frame, but we definitely have one or two that we want to get out between then.
Our goal is to try to do one minimum every quarter.
Oh, wow.
We'd like to. That's aggressive for us right now.
Yeah, that's probably aggressive, but it depends. I mean, right now
you're going to find the right one. You're never going to put anything out unless you're really happy with it.
Correct.
And we know that as supporters of your channel, for as long as we have been, we all know, what your standard is going to have to be. And you're just not wanting to throw bottles out there.
No, not
for
at all.
The sake of it.
The funny thing is some of our patrons might go back to Virginia and bottle something on their own. Whiskey Wheelhouse wants to go back and bottle that
sherry.
He wants to bottle that sherry. He even said it in Discord. He said,
there's a couple in the group here, one at the SDR. So
right, I'll go back and bottle my own cask. Okay, but the thing is, and we've been trying to get a hold of Del Bach. We're reaching out, just because we really want to showcase A to Z in American Single Malt. Yeah. What do these regions show, and what do they bring to the table, and just try to get the exposure out there. If we can expose it, I know people are going to love it. And once people love it, then the industry will make a mark and explode. And I'm not saying it's ever going to be the next bourbon or anything, but it will at least get its own space on the shelf at Total Wine.
I think from our channel perspective and yours as well, what's our first love is Scotch, and it's never
always will be.
Always will be.
Yeah.
But I think that we have a huge opportunity with our market, because our market's kind of weird for America, right? It's not as big as being over in Scotland, but for what we're doing, it's pretty good. And the fact that what we can do with our Scotch passion and love, and then hopefully bring up what American Single Malt, I think we're in a good place to help, kind of really produce it and show what's going out there as far as American Single Malt can do.
Yeah. So, and right now you're picking, basically, you've already started kind of this thing per region, which I love. You can start that collection right now.
That's right. That's right.
You've got a Texas, you got a East Coast, you're going to do a West Coast. Cedar Ridge, where is it?
It's
Midwest?
Iowa.
Yeah. Like, can you get more Midwest?
We're trying. Not on purpose, but we're trying.
So, we poured this Cedar Ridge that Kim gave us. It's the quintessential special release. It's a single our cigar malt. Let me read this to you, Leanne, because I got to be honest with you.
Good Lord.
When you taste this, we got to throw a sample her way.
One of these.
it says this is 100% malted barley aged in ex-bourbon barrels and then finished in first fill Amontillado. I can't pronounce it. Sherry.
Amontillado.
Yes. French oak, new American oak, and peated malt finished in ruby port. And I tell you what,
It's like a Dalmore King sandwich.
this thing
It's
was
so,
It's like that gobstopper that you talk about.
this
Yes.
thing would
Layer and
stand
layer and
against
layer.
the Dalmore cigar malt. I
Oh,
mean, the cigar,
king.
that's a cigar malt. I guarantee you this thing stand up against the cigar malt from Dalmore every day.
Easy.
It's
Wow.
incredible.
Like this is like I would love to get a bottle of this for Scotch. Amazing. This is amazing.
I mean, and the regular quintessential that they sell on the shelf is just a flat out good
Yeah,
malt.
it
I'm
is.
like, so I'm excited about
This
it.
is exciting because we get to kind of get back into our passion and journey again to find what is really unique about the malted barley and what we can do with it. And these guys are doing it.
In
They're making it
Iowa.
happen.
I mean, like right up the road. They're like
It's great.
4 hours away. We're gonna drive up there and see them, and
Oh,
you know,
wow.
kick their doors down and spend a weekend with them, and maybe they're as fun as Ty, and they let us roll our sleeves
It
up.
may
and,
not
you
be
know,
as
get to
fun as
work.
going to Jura and seeing the deer, but you know, you can at least go see some farmland
or going to
Yeah.
Isla and sleeping in the castle, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
well traveled.
I can, it's okay. I can drive there. I don't have to worry about hitting deer or
oh my god!
You can come back to
or
the
which
basement.
side
We'll
of the
take you
road.
there.
I know which side of the road to drive on.
That's true.
Okay, so Mr. Great Shot's asking about the Andalusian malt if it's still available.
That's a good
I don't
question. On our
know.
Zoom earlier, we do a Tuesday night patron Zoom, and Joe was on there, and he said he thought it was still available. The link was allowing him to purchase one, and I said I don't know if that link's actually accurate because I don't think there's any left. And he said, "Well, I'm going to order one and let you know
Okay.
if he got it through."
Right.
There's not many.
There's less than
two,
maybe three left, if any.
Well, if you find out that we can't order, I'll make sure I'll have that link on there too.
Appreciate
So check back for that for sure. Or always DM me or the guys.
I hate to say it to him this way. If there are two left, he better be
Probably
quick because
gone.
I'm gonna buy them because I've given away more bottles than I planned.
So I came home with quite a few, as you might recall. 3 went to Scotland. I have 2 here, so that's 5. I think I have 3 more. So yeah, I think I know I have. Yeah, I think I have 2 or 3 more. It was that good, y'all. And the thing too is, kind of going back on that. When I get to go to Scotland, and I'm spending the entire day with Graham, and Graham and I are just doing unbelievable fun stuff, and the generosity and the hospitality over there is off the charts, right? And being the good Southern woman I am, I must go over with a gift.
Right.
You just don't go empty-handed. And they have, I wouldn't even pretend to want to know what whiskey, what scotch
What
to buy
scotch
for
to
somebody
take.
over there, because what I
Right,
have is a
right.
drop in the freaking bucket
Right.
compared to what they have or what they can get.
Exactly.
But they cannot get this.
Nope.
They cannot get this.
No.
So I have 2 bottles of this, and one of these is going to go over, and that they can appreciate and share. I brought over a bottle of our Louisiana JT Mellick whiskey that's made with 100% rice mash bill, and it's amazing. That's
Something
not
they
something
can't
you're
get
gonna
over there.
Exactly. I'm not going to give them anything I wouldn't drink, but
Right.
I want to make sure, and that's why I have trouble trying to find a bourbon bottle to take over there because I don't drink it, so I don't know if it's going to be great. I
Don't do
know
it.
I can call some of my bourbon friends and say, "Hey, what should I take?" But I know they like American Single. I mean, like single malts. So I want to try to expose them to as many American single malts as I can. I took Andalusia over. I've taken Balcones over, just so that they would have exposure to that when they can't always get it.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's
Share the love.
To quote Roy, right? Whiskey's for sharing, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
that's
Tastes
exactly.
better.
people watching your show, watching our show, and everyone else out there, no one's buying this stuff really to drink it by themselves. They want to share their passion and love for it. And that's exactly what you're doing, what we're doing. And the fact that you're doing that is just amazing. And kudos for you for sharing that. That's really epic.
Well, I was proud to. I was very proud to. But yeah, well, guys.
Yep,
this has been awesome.
I appreciate talk all night long.
Thanks for having us on, Leanne.
Really and I know it's a later hour for y'all, and I appreciate y'all staying up on school night.
Anytime.
Anytime for you, sweetheart. You know we love you.
You know, y'all are the best. You just have done so much for me and for the channel and for the encouragement and everything else. But the friendship is the best part of the whole deal. Because can't imagine not knowing y'all.
Amen to that, sister.
Cheers to
love you. Hey, make sure you give Mark a big hug for us.
Oh, I know
he's in the chat. He probably fell asleep again.
I will, but just think about that crawfish. And
that gonna show up.
Might make it happen.
Probably gonna show up, darling. Hey, I want to say thanks to everybody in the chat. Good conversation, Graham. Everybody that joined in from around the globe. Thanks for getting involved in the conversation. Good stuff.
It was awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna say bye to everybody, and I'll see y'all in the back.
Cheers. Thanks.
Right. Y'all.
Thanks, guys. Oh, y'all, what a fun night. Anytime I can do this. The smile is genuine. I love these guys. They're just amazing. Yeah. So I will post links that we can find in for these two bottles in the description. But if you have any questions about that, always send me a chat or an email or whatever. I really want to thank all the super chats, all my friends, the patrons tonight that came out, and our channel members. Thank you so very much for all that you do to support the channel. As you know, we have a lot of fun with this, and I love our little community that we have. I will see you in the first Tuesday in May. I've got a couple things working. We'll see how that goes. And we've got a Camp Dram coming out soon. And it's a twofer. 2 drams in 1 review. So I will see you at another time down the road. Until then, salon y'all.